welcome to this episode of Conform to Transform.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm awesome. How are you?
I'm good. It's Super Bowl Sunday.
Oh,
I know
yes.
that's right
That's
up
right.
your alley.
Yeah. Ish. Used to be a lot more up my alley about 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah. We've had quite the Super Bowl parties back in the day.
Yeah, we did. I'm talking about the Cowboys when they actually had a chance of going.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Or the team formerly known as Dallas. Yes.
Yeah.
If you follow me on Facebook, you know I'm done. So. Anyway.
How's your week?
It was pretty good. It was just about as action-packed as the one before. But I don't know. It was a pretty dang good week. It was really, really good.
Yeah.
Looking forward to some crazy stuff coming up and just, eye on the prize as usual.
Yeah, I feel like it was an action-packed week as well. I mean,
You had a crazy week.
I
Indeed.
did have a crazy week.
Yeah, and we'll get into it a little bit as we go here because you're starting to build up some of these habits and things like that I'm going to be talking about with in our topic today.
Oh, well, alrighty.
Indeed. Yep.
La-di-da.
Yep, you're going
La-di-di-da.
to be showcased-ish. So, anyway. So, yeah, it was a pretty good week. Do you want me to just kind of dive in here? Just into our stuff?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well, actually, before I do that, why don't you kind of just tell your story of the last week or two? Because it is pretty crazy for those that know us and follow us.
Oh, wow. All right. I guess the biggest thing is I have had some leg issues that have, I don't know, I think they've gotten worse over time. And it's been kind of, it puts me out of commission for a lot of things. Like it takes me a really long time to pick up the house. There's times where I have trouble walking across my school building. It's just gotten pretty bad. So I have when the new year started, I started going to the gym and started Weight Watchers as well. So I've lost quite a few pounds doing that already and have had quite success. And I can feel a difference from going to the gym, but I also knew that I had to take those first steps to get to the root of what's going on. So I saw the doctor this week, and he immediately got me an MRI, which I'm claustrophobic, so that was kind of something. But I felt a lot of prayers from the church and from my family, and I was able to get through that. And I'm still looking for answers, but he did prescribe me a steroid, so I have felt like $1 million. So we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah.
And that was one thing that's been a huge hurdle for me. So at least with the steroids, I'm getting I know that I'm capable of...
They've made you completely different.
Yeah,
You're walking different, acting
different.
different.
I'm capable of actually
You're
getting
hyper.
better, which was my fear, is that it was not fixable. You know, all those things that the enemy puts in your head. So
Yeah.
at least I'm there. And I know that God has work for me to do. So
If you're breathing, that's a true story.
he wants me to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And I have faith in that. So I
Yeah.
stand on that, which is funny because it was part of the sermon this morning is when you find your purpose.
Yeah, indeed, which is kind of what the whole ministry revolves around.
Yeah,
Actually. That's the whole goal of it, is people finding their purpose. People that think
Yeah.
they don't have purpose, finding that purpose,
And
right?
the funny thing is that happened with me this week too. I got more involved in what I think is part of my purpose, and part of my purpose is to minister to women and to minister to wives, and just to know that when they're in those struggles, when they're, you know, concerned about their family, concerned about their marriages, that they don't have to be alone, even like when there's shame there. Because I remember when you were at your darkest point, just feeling so alone because there was shame, even though it wasn't necessarily me doing it, there was shame for me as well. I wanted to protect you, and I didn't want everyone to know every little dirty secret. So it felt like a lonely time. So that's part of my mission too. I just want women to be able to support other women through Christ, of course, and know that they aren't alone when they're going through any kind of things. And I think that's what both of our hearts are, is just that people don't have to feel shame.
Very good. Yeah.
Yep.
Very cool. So you're a completely different person this week than you were
Yeah,
the previous
so
week.
this
Just your
week-
energy levels,
Yeah.
and it's really, really nice
So
to see.
we
Gives
had
me
our
hope
first
for you.
circle kickoff, which is virtual, so anyone can join.
You're talking about your women's circle?
Yeah, the women's circle. And if you are even one of my Facebook friends that haven't seen me for 30 years and you just have been intrigued, because who wouldn't naturally be intrigued to see somebody on a podcast that they knew in another lifetime, and you've listened and you've felt inspired, please reach out and join that circle. It'd be nice to see you. If you're still my Facebook friend, there's a reason for it. And then I also got to someone else in my life that I'm mentoring, and it just has been really, really good. God, Pastor Andy says, God's going to trust you with one before he trusts you with a lot.
With a
And
thousand.
I feel that coming, and I'm honored, and I'm just humble, and I'm excited for what God wants to do through me.
That's very, very cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And so, yes, today is Super Bowl Sunday,
Yeah.
obviously. And, so I got to thinking, I was like, let's do something sport themed. We had a jersey Sunday today at one
Yep.
church. I did not wear one because all I have is trash Dallas. And so I'm not wearing that stupid stuff. But anyway, so today I wanted to talk about, and I heard it sounds kind of crazy, but I heard Tom Brady talking about it a few weeks ago, and it just stuck with me as well.
Yeah.
I talked with it for some other people. So what is the difference between a star and a champion? What's the difference between a star and a champion? So today we're going to see a lot of stars. We're going to see some champions, but do you realize that there's a difference between those two things?
Absolutely.
Yeah, there are. There's a huge difference between
I
those
think
two
if you
things.
compare
And
it to the Christian world, it's going to be just like what Andy said today.
yeah,
He said, it is better to be touched by God than adored by man. Something like
Marked
that.
by man.
Marked by man.
yeah.
And I think that's
The
the
hand of
difference
God
between
on
a
you
star and a
versus-
champion, too.
Yes.
The
Yep.
same mentality.
I agree. Yeah, and there's lots of stars. You'll see them all over the place. You can see them on YouTube. You see them on TV.
Yeah.
You see them all up. There's a lot of superstar rock stars, but not a lot of champions.
You're right.
There's just not. And to me, something that's been speaking to me a lot, and I would say that has been a game changer for me completely over these last couple of years of just getting better, 646 days to be exact, is doing the same small things all the time. And that's how champions are made. They do the same things. They are consistent day in, day out with the little things that nobody else wants to do, the things that are boring, the things that are mundane, and that creates lasting championship level character and quality.
I think champions in the Christian world is stepping out in faith.
Well, it is stepping out, but what, for 30 seconds? Or doing
No,
that every
anytime.
single day for the rest of your life?
Anytime.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if I would call...
I would disagree with that because I think somebody can step out in faith once and then not do it again for 17 years.
No, but I mean constantly, day after day.
Yes,
you are
that's what
stepping
I'm
out
going.
in faith.
Yes.
That's different than a habit.
Correct. Yes. Well, it is. I mean, excellence is a habit. Doing the same things over and over and over and over again, like the right things,
Okay.
even when you don't feel like it.
Okay.
Because why do you think New Year's resolutions die off after 2 weeks, the beginning of the year? Because they don't stick with the small things, right?
Right.
All of the time. Yeah. So
Right.
it takes consistency. And so I've got several Bible verses to share about this. One of them that jumped out was Malachi 3:6. It says, "For I, the Lord, do not change. Therefore you, O children of Jacob, are not consumed." And so he is our ultimate model for consistency and staying the same. Like you always know what you're going to get. You know what I mean? And there's certain people, whenever you see them, like, you know what they've done so far that day. You know that they've spent time in the Word. You know that they reach out to their close friends. Like, they don't get lazy about it, ever. You know what I mean? And I talk about this all the time, especially in sports, the NFL especially. You see this all the time. There's a guy I work really, really hard. He's awesome. He's a star. And then he gets that humongous paycheck and then never does anything with it. Like, he just falls off the face of the planet after that. Because he got all of his money, right? But then there's some that the money doesn't make a single bit of difference in the world because excellence is who they are. And that's where I think it translates over into the Christian world. I mean, especially today, it's really, really easy to be a salad bar, pick and choose Christian, right? Like, here's some things that I do like, here's some things that I don't. And nobody wants to do the hard things all of the time. And the thing is whenever you build that habit and you do the hard things all the time, the hard things aren't hard anymore.
Well,
They're just normal things.
What kind of hard things do you think there are about being a Christian?
Well, like reading your Bible every single day, getting into the Word every single day.
But I think once you do it, it's not something that's difficult to do.
No, it's not.
Something that you want to do.
It is at first. It's like people that get up early. Like, it's no problem to them whatsoever. Those first 2 weeks were awful because it was hard. It was hard to do. But once you start building that in and God starts blessing you the way that he promises that he will, you're right. They don't become hard anymore. but
Right.
getting there is hard.
Mm-hmm.
If it was easy, everybody on the planet would be in the Word for several hours every single day. And I know
Right.
not everybody has that much time, et cetera.
Right.
That's crazy. But I think a lot of people are just really, really blasé about it. It'd be like, I can read my Bible tomorrow. It's no big deal. It's there. I got church coming up in 3 or 4 days.
Right.
Like I'll get my dose of Jesus then.
Right.
But it's those little things that God commands us to do all of the time, and they're all
Yeah.
small. And for what He's done for us, they're nothing. I mean,
Right.
like,
And I will say this, if you have not realized yet that I'm sure you have. And we are in a spiritual war, and it's pretty big right now. And if you do not arm yourself with the word of God, then it's going to be really difficult. Arm yourself with praise and worship music, arm yourself with the word of God.
yeah,
Because, first of all, you're going to need some discernment. We all need some discernment.
yeah, and you can't get it
There
if you don't know
is,
it.
we all know that there's misinformation coming out all the time. It's part of the spiritual war. And
Yeah.
so you can't get that discernment if you aren't spending time in the Word and spending time with God. He's the one who gives you the discernment.
Yeah, it's so true. It's simple.
So you need to make that a habit.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah, if you're serious about your walk with
Mhm.
Jesus, and there's tons of people that don't, and
Yeah.
like innocently enough, you'll talk to some of the nicest people in the world, and like, hey, when's the last time you got into the Word? And they were like, those 3 or 4 verses from church last Sunday were pretty good. And you're just
Right.
thinking like, that's it. It's just like I
Right.
need more than that.
Oh, yeah,
I
for
have
sure.
to have more than that.
For sure.
And maybe some people can get by with but I know I can't at
Yeah.
all. Like I
Mhm.
crave it, and it's just staying consistent. We kind of talked about it a little bit last week, if you remember. It's like I want to be the same person sitting here, the same person that is at Kroger, the same person that is
Yeah.
at my office, the same,
Mhm.
staying consistent. And that's why Jesus is just such a good model for it, because Hebrews 13:8 tells us that Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever.
Yeah.
Like that Charity Gale song that we love. I was just listening to it at the
Mhm.
gym. The I Believe. It just talks about from the beginning, like he just doesn't change. He
Right.
just remains on. You know what you're going to get with God. And with
Mhm.
people, you don't know that.
Right.
It's like, I know I'm moody. I know
Mhm.
I have days. Like whenever I walk in the door, like am I grumpy? Like, am I going to yell? Am I going to
Yeah.
smile? Am I going to cry? Am I going to laugh? Human beings are inconsistent.
Mhm.
God remains the same
Yeah.
completely all the time.
Yeah.
Steadfastness. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's the difference between champions and stars. Because believe me,
I don't know, because
what-
for me, I do not have to have the same habits every day. I am more like God. I feel like God calls me to be flexible. I have to be flexible. First of all, what I do for a living, I have to be flexible.
Yeah.
My days cannot be the same. They will never. I will never have 2 days that are the same.
none of my days are the same. There's things that are going
Um,
to change every single day, but there's things you can do that don't change.
Right, but I think that I don't know, being honoring God does
Yeah.
not necessarily mean that you have to get in your Bible, you have to pray every day.
Yes, those are the things I'm talking
But
about.
but honoring God too, you have to be flexible. You have to be.
Yeah, I'm not saying you get up and you have a task list of 6 or 7 things, you do those, and then you're done the rest of the
Yeah.
day. You absolutely have to remain flexible. And there's billions of people in this world that their days are different every single day.
Uh-huh.
But I've got some non-negotiables that won't change no matter what my day looks like. Like I know I'm
Right.
going to have a ton of variables in there, but there's 2 or 3 things that I'm going to do every day, rain or shine, puking or healthy, like you just got to do.
Right.
And that's where I think that line is the difference.
Okay.
I see what you're getting at. Like
Right.
you can't be super duper rigid and just be like, that's Pharisee stuff.
Right.
That's religion. That's man-made rules.
Right.
But I'm talking about these little things that God professes in his word, plain and clearly. You do these things, you will have a successful life.
Right.
And then people get off track of that, especially Christians, and then they wonder, why is my life a mess? Well, he told you it was going to be a mess if you did these things. Like he spelled it out very, very clearly, And so I feel like steadfastness is very,
Yeah.
very, very
I guess
important.
I just don't ever want to.
You don't want to put God in a box, is where I
Yeah,
think
and
you're
I don't.
getting
I don't
to.
ever want to
Yeah.
give myself the glory that I.
No, not at
Because
all.
what I'm doing every day makes me a champion.
No, well,
God makes
Yes.
you, and I don't want to say that those who are not in that are less than, because God loves everybody the same.
Yeah, I'm talking
And
about improvement,
I
getting
know,
better.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just making it clear. This is what we're here for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's all.
So what you're saying is you don't have to do the right things
I'm not saying
every
that you
single
don't have to
day.
do the right things every single day. That's
Okay.
different.
Yeah,
I'm
like I'm legit
saying
curious
is,
where you're coming from
what I'm
on
saying
this.
is, I just feel like people get this
And I'm not talking about doing works for
people
God
get
to
this
like make yourself worthy
crazy
to him. You can't do
idea
that.
of what being a championship Christian should look like, when really you might be pleasing God by just winning one person
Of
for the
course,
day,
yeah.
or just doing those little things. That's the way that God views you as a champion. I guess this is it. The way that God views you as a champion doesn't necessarily need to be the way the world views you as a champion.
No, it's not even close to the way that the world would view you as a champion.
Right.
At all. Yeah, I'm talking about the
So,
spiritual realm, not the physical whatsoever.
okay.
I'm just using sports analogies because that's what people understand.
No, that's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, indeed. Yeah, and there's certain things that like you can't go 5 days without praying and just be like, oh, God's cool with it. He's not. Like, it makes it
Well,
very
he's
very
not
clear
cool
that
with
we're
it,
supposed to have
but
a relationship with him.
no,
And
he's not cool with it. But it's
if
not
you're
like
seeking God, you're not going to ignore him for 5 days. See my
right,
point?
but the
It
but
doesn't make you any more
it's
worthy.
like when you're on a diet, right?
Yeah.
If you fall off the wagon, that doesn't mean that you don't get back on.
No,
right?
Of course you can get back on, but
yeah,
will
and
you?
it doesn't mean
But
that
will
you
you,
have
though?
totally failed and you're all done.
No, not at all. No, of
Right.
course. No, we're going to mess up every single day. The point is that you realize it and you try to get better. If you
Right.
fall off twice a day for 3 months in a row,
And that's between you and God.
you're not on that diet anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, then you're not doing it right, like period.
Right.
You're just not. And so I guess that's kind of what we need to be aiming towards, just being consistent and being constant
Right.
and those types of things. I think you're thinking that I'm saying like make a list of 8 things and knock those things out and then your life's perfect.
No,
That's
no,
not
no,
what
no,
I'm
no.
saying.
I
whatsoever.
just want to be. I don't want anyone to feel like they're falling short, and it's not my job to make anyone feel that way. I think that's something that's personal between you and God. That God convicts you. We're just here to share the good things and the good
Yeah.
news, and
Yes, but we all
that's
fall
what
short.
I'm saying.
Yes,
Yes, and we all fall short.
Yeah.
Right.
We're going to.
Right. We're
Yeah,
going
but
to.
the whole point is that it all
And
points back to him.
I don't have any magic formula to say where you're supposed to measure up. I don't have a magic formula to tell you how to not fall short.
We will fall short and we don't measure up.
Yes. I don't have those answers, and I don't want to come across that we do.
No.
And so yeah, but
I mean, there is an
reading your
answer.
Bible and praying, that's where you get your levels from, not
Yes.
us. Not
No,
us.
right. Yeah.
So that's what I think. Because I'll give you an example right now. Football for me.
Yeah.
Do I think that everyone has been convicted of that shouldn't like the NFL? No, absolutely not. Do I feel like at one point God knocked me down a few branches from? I was a huge Colts fan, and I felt like I needed to step back from that for some reason. God just put that on me, and I don't think that for everybody. I do not judge anybody for wanting to watch I'm married to an NFL fanatic. I don't judge anybody for that at all. But that's something that was between me and God for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know what the entire reason is.
I still don't either.
I don't either. But it's something that he did.
Yeah.
So that's just an example for me.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a very personal journey.
Yeah.
I just want to make that.
Yeah, it is. Well, yeah, but then also at the same time, God doesn't command us to love football either.
No, of course not.
What I'm talking about, what I'm touching on is the things that we know that we are supposed to do for a fruitful relationship with God.
Yes.
We have to do those things every single day. And when you don't do those things, you can't expect to win. Like, you just really, really can't. Like, seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Don't seek his kingdom and his righteousness, and none of these things will be added to you. It just makes perfect sense.
But no, because there are people in the Bible who didn't. Like, he He gave, how many
Yeah.
promises did he give to people, especially in the Old Testament?
Yeah.
He gave these promises, and those people fell short. And what did he have? He had grace. He still
Yeah.
gave it to them every single
Okay.
time.
I feel like I'm confusing you to death. Like, you think that I'm telling
No.
people, here's how you be perfect. That is not what I'm saying whatsoever.
No.
I'm talking about how to be, like, really, like, don't you have Christians that you look up to, that you admire?
Of course.
Why?
There's something different about their light.
What? I already know what it is, but keep going.
I just feel
What's
like
different about their life?
you can just see it in them. They have
See
the light of the Lord.
Why?
They're happy.
Why?
They're kind, even through
Right.
the hard things that they're going to. I don't know that they open their Bible every day. I have no idea.
Well, they're not happy for no reason.
Well,
When
yeah,
things are falling down
But-
around them. Yes.
yeah, and I don't think they're. I don't know. Yeah, I just yeah.
What I'm saying, and Andy was talking about it this morning too. Like, whenever you're following him the way that you should, and he's blessing you in your life, people won't be able to help it. They'll look at you,
Yeah, of
and
course.
they'll just smell Jesus whenever they see you.
Yes.
Because you are chasing after him,
Yeah.
and you're chasing after him big time, like
Yep.
with all your heart, with all your mind, and with all your soul.
Yeah.
Not half your mind, half your soul, and half your spirit.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about like selling everything that you own and go live on the street with a
No,
picket
no,
sign
no.
saying that. I think we're both saying the same thing, but coming from two different places. Like, I don't,
And that's
it's hard to
good
explain.
because
yeah,
that's
I
good.
love that. Yeah. I love not agreeing on things sometimes.
Yeah.
Which happens a lot off camera.
Yeah,
as
it
well. And
does.
so we're married. I mean, what are you gonna do? You know, I'm not here to say that every marriage is perfect, because it's not.
And
But-
I'm just trying to help you get your point across in the way that I know you do want to get it across.
Yeah. I mean, my whole point is, if you want to be, because I want to be a champion in God's eyes, you
Yes.
know, like, I don't want to just halfway do this,
Yes.
because I also know it's not just checking things off of a box or a list. Like, when I chase him with full abandon, I'm completely happy. I have a peace that doesn't make any sense.
That's it.
Yes, exactly.
That's it.
And that is just by obeying him and by
Right.
loving him and just by doing what he asks. You know what I mean?
Right.
Being obedient.
And that's what I
Yeah.
wanted to get to. I wanted to make sure that you guys understood what he meant by champion, because
Yeah.
I don't want you to think that by champion he means like I know he was saying
Read
that
Leviticus
between
before
star.
dinner.
Yes, yes.
Nope, that's not what
Okay,
I'm saying whatsoever.
yeah.
Yeah, indeed. And so let me talk about steadfastness just a little bit
Yeah.
more. Let's get into that. So 1 Corinthians 15:58. I said I had several verses for y'all today. So this one says, "So my dear brothers and sisters, be strong and immovable. Always work enthusiastically for the Lord, for you know that nothing you do for the Lord is ever useless." And I think that's where a lot of people end up falling short, because the day in, day out, what some people can see as mundane
Right.
tasks of quote unquote loving the Lord, it's boring to some people. And it can fall off if it's not exciting, especially in our Western culture
Right.
and our attention span and all the ADD running around. I am so ADHD. I mean, I get it. I could be doing something that I think is the best thing ever, and then a light bulb can flash from 10 feet away, and then I'm obsessed with something else.
Right.
I'm bad about it. I mean, I agree. It's really, really hard for me to stay focused. And so I totally understand that, but that consistency is what I chase after all the time. And you know, I've got some non-negotiable things that I do
Yeah.
every single day as
Yeah.
far as stuff goes. I mean, it sounds stupid, but writing that number down on my whiteboard,
Yeah.
like, I won't not do it. Like, it sounds silly, but every single time that I take down, like tomorrow, I'm going to change 646 to 647. What runs through my head is, I cannot believe that God did this for me.
Right.
I cannot believe that this is the 647th day. And
So
yeah, did you see what I'm
giving
saying?
him praise every day,
Of course,
and
yes, most definitely.
being grateful
Yes.
is something that
Obeying him.
yes.
Obeying him. Yeah, just obeying him. And so
Yes.
I love that verse right there that just talks about steadfastness, and especially during challenges, right? So then we start getting into the fruitfulness of things. That's the difference between stars and champions. There's a whole lot of stars on teams, but they don't have fruit, aka championships, wins, success in their field. And, you know, that's why, you know, my entire life of, you know, previously being a Cowboys fan and all of that stuff, I saw a lot of stars come through there, a whole lot of stars, and everybody gets excited. Oh, that means we're going to win. Nope, that's false. That does not guarantee that you're going to win.
Right.
That you're going to sell tickets.
Right.
You're going to get people there, but the end result is not going to be success.
Right.
And so if you really want to, in today's social media age and with everything, if you're really talented and you got some people around you, you can look
Right.
really, really good.
It's like movies that are flops. Even though they
Yes.
had like a great star, a
Yeah.
great leading actor,
Yeah. Well, it happens
the
all the
script
time.
was terrible,
Right?
right?
Or you put together
So-
15 seconds from the movie to make a trailer
Yeah.
that makes it look
So
awesome. and
here,
movie's
the difference
awful.
between champions and stars is the champions put lots of thought and time into their script.
Yes, indeed. I've been wearing these 3 Kobe bracelets for a year and a half. People that know me know this because I am all about the Mamba mentality. And I wasn't a huge Lakers fan, but I'll always be a Kobe fan. And the reason that I was is his work ethic. Because if you read him
Jordan's
and if you
better.
study him, who?
Jordan's
That's
better.
ridiculous. Okay, so, but he did the same things every single day. He was up at 3:30 in the morning at the gym. Like, you knew what he was doing every single day at a certain time, and he put in the reps. And so whenever he's shooting 1,000 free throws after everybody leaves in that big game 6 in the finals, when he's shooting free throws, he can make them with his eyes closed.
Right.
Because it's muscle memory. You know, and Andy talked about that a little bit last week too. Like those athletes, that's what practice is for. And if you practice something 1,000 times more than somebody else does, you're going to be better than them at it. You just
Yeah.
absolutely are. So imagine if you got in your Bible every single day, if you made it a non-negotiable to pray the way that you know that you need to pray, to reach out to 2 or 3 people that you know are less fortunate than you are, to reach out to somebody that you know is hurting, to be selfless. Even though you have stuff going on, you set yourself aside to spend time with them. It's those little obedient things that Jesus tells us to do
Yeah.
that I feel like 99.9% of people just won't do it. They can get excited about it for a couple days. That's why, you know, I love motivational books. I love motivational speeches, all of that. But motivation by itself is garbage because all it's going to do is get you excited for a couple of days.
Yeah.
You see it all the time. People get super duper gung ho. The New Year's resolutions. That's why they're gone after 2 weeks, because doing the same thing over and over again, it's not exciting.
Right.
It's not flashy. You know, it doesn't look good on an Instagram feed. It doesn't, you know. And so even during challenges, that's why I wanted to get to the fruitfulness of it. You'll know somebody,
Yeah.
you'll see it by their fruit.
Yeah.
You saw it with Tom Brady. You see it with Patrick Mahomes. You see it with these guys. It's like you see the fruit of their consistency.
Yeah.
And they're not just there to be like, hey, look at me. And then whenever they do win, they give the credit elsewhere.
Yeah.
They're humble. They stay humble about it, which God calls us to do. And so there's a huge link between belief and actions. And so check out James 2:26 here. For as the body apart from the spirit is dead, so also faith apart from works is dead. And so, long story short, if you are living in obedience and you're really, really chasing after him the way that you want to, like that fruit is going to show up in your life. People are going to see Jesus when they see you. People are going to be drawn to you when you walk into a room because they want to hear your story and be like, oh my gosh, that happened to me too. Like, how did you do that? And so, you know, that's part of Conformed to Transformed is I have a lot of people like, how do you get up that early all the time? Like, how do you, and it's repetition. It's that hourly reminder on my phone that's still here 646 days later. Talk to God every hour on the hour. It seems ridiculous. Sometimes it annoys you and you swipe it away. But that built a habit in me to where like I feel like I'm talking to him just all the time.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's kind of, I kind of don't know where I'm going with that. But what I'm saying is consistency is key, I guess is what I'm getting at. And so your actions, your everyday action should be a direct reflection of your faith.
Yeah, of course.
Because that's character,
Yeah.
right? And so we've talked about that so many times as
Yeah.
well on this. And so, I mean, so my question is, in your mind, just your opinion, there's no wrong answer, no right answer. How do you stay consistent? It's not a trick question.
I stay consistent by making sure I'm talking and spending time with God.
Okay, gotcha. And like, do you write that down? Is it just something now you're at a point to where it just triggers in your head because you've done it so much? Or is it something you got to look down and be like, yeah, I still need to do these several things today? Or is it natural?
It's just natural for me.
Did you ever have days where the day is done and you're laying in bed and you look up and you're like, I forgot like 3 things that I would have liked to have done?
I mean, that happens to everybody.
Human. Right. Yeah, exactly. But the more that you practice it and make it a non-negotiable, the less and less that happens.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. I mean, you know, so it's just repetition. And so, you know, another thing that comes across us whenever we're trying to stay consistent, and you know this, the more that you live in his presence and the more his hand is on you, the more attacks come. We've been spiritually attacked. Our marriage, our church. I mean, Andy was talking about it this morning. we've had a wild month of January.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
many good things, but also so many just insane things
Mm-hmm.
that if you're a believer and you look at it, it's completely obvious that it's attacks from the
Oh, yeah,
enemies,
yeah, yeah.
right? And so, there's a lot of people that think when these temptations come up and all of that, they give in really, really easily. I'm
Mm-hmm.
guilty of it. There's things that I give into that I shouldn't give into. I should be stronger about, and I think that goes with everybody. But all this garbage about the devil made me do it, like that's no, that is false. Which brings me to this verse that I wanted to talk about. You know what? So the devil made you do it? No, that's not true. Check this out. In 1 Corinthians 10:13, the temptations in your life are no different from what others experience, and
Mm-hmm.
God is faithful. He will not allow the temptation to be more than you can stand. When you are tempted, he will show you a way out so that you
Mm-hmm.
can endure.
Mm-hmm.
So, long story short, we're going to face trials, we're going to face troubles, but God is never going to put you in a position to where you have no other choice but to dishonor him. That will
Right.
never happen.
Right.
And Jesus has told us as well, you're going to have troubles in this world, but take heart, I have overcome the world.
Okay.
And he's our role model,
All right.
right? And so, what are your thoughts on that?
I agree with that
Yeah,
completely.
like there's always a way.
I'm going to say something that's controversial. And I'm going to say this is why I do not believe that this is why I do not believe the COVID shot was the mark of the beast.
Don't get us struck on YouTube, please.
I'm not. I do not believe that for 1 second because of God's promise.
Oh, okay.
And
That.
because of what you just said.
Yeah,
God isn't going to tempt us to a point where we have no way of backing out.
there's always a way out.
And
It may cost you something.
And I don't think that shot that when it was offered was clear enough to know that if you took it, you were taking the mark of the beast. I think that you're going to be, I just don't think so. Because there were plenty of people who took it because they thought they were doing something for the good.
Yeah.
And I just don't think it's going to go that way.
No, I think it will. Whenever you're living in the spirit and you're walking with it, like those things, I feel like they're obvious. And so as time goes on, it's completely obvious to me. If there's a situation in front of me, I know if it's right or wrong.
Right.
Just know. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's not going to put you in a spot to where if you're ignorant about it, you're held accountable for
Right.
it, I guess. And maybe I'm wrong. I mean, but I don't think so. That's not what this verse is telling me.
I don't think so either. And I do think that if there was evil intent behind it, that God's going to take care of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have full faith.
He makes all things right. He's the ultimate
makes
judge.
all things right.
Yeah. He will.
So-
He's going to set everything perfect. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. And so there's, long story short, the more you walk with God, the more you are going to get attacked. And the Bible, again, is just chock full of, like you said, people that failed, like a lot. And I'm just going to bring a couple of them up. Noah in Genesis. He was a mess. Like, if you study that a little bit, he was drunk. I mean, if you read some of those stories,
Yes.
that dude drank a lot too. But he also was ridiculed,
Yes.
and he stood up in the face of ridicule to do what God told him to do.
What God told him, and God was faithful. God gave him grace.
Yes,
That,
he did.
yes.
Yes, exactly. He gives all of us grace.
He gives everyone grace. But he had huge promises given to him. Like, if you do these things, or it wasn't even if you do these things, it was just he was promised those things.
Yeah.
And even when he strayed from God and he didn't listen, and he knew that he got those, that God was giving him those things.
Right.
God didn't take them away.
No, he sets you back on the right path.
Yep.
But you got to stay there.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And he fulfilled his promise for the generations.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
Noah didn't break it for his family. God stayed consistent.
And as I'm studying the Old Testament, something that I do realize, especially with the story of Israel, is that, like, yes, he gives you that grace. He does give you that forgiveness.
Yes.
But you never know with God, because that next time may be the time that he's done.
Right.
You know,
I don't.
It has happened throughout history.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also, that's also gets into some
But they did
preordained stuff. They did some crazy stuff.
They did some crazy stuff, and he forgave them.
Yeah, completely.
I mean,
the next example is Moses out of Exodus, Deuteronomy, Leviticus, and he died at the end of Deuteronomy. Yeah, and I mean, Moses killed a guy.
Yeah.
And so for the first 40 years of his life, he grew up being a somebody. He was in the Egyptian palace. He was Egyptian royalty. The next 40 years, he figured out that he was a nobody because he
Right.
went to the desert.
Right.
He was hiding in Midian from the Egyptians because of his murder.
Right.
Killed a guy. And then the 40 years after that, he was trying to figure out how to do what God was telling him to do, even though he was a nobody. But whenever God's in your life, nobodies become somebodies.
Right.
And that's the beautiful thing. And that's why you can lay all of those things at Jesus' feet, is because I know that I can't do it. I know that I'm not strong enough to do it, but through Christ, I can do all things. Through all things. And it's not me. That's why I'd want to give him the glory for everything from putting my shoes on to making it till 5 o'clock at the end of the day. Like, that was not me.
Right.
That was him. But he was using me throughout the day, if that
Right.
makes any sense. And then Job is a crazy one. Historically, the oldest book in the Bible. And that book focuses on why do bad things happen to good people.
Yeah.
And you still don't come out with an answer. I mean,
No,
the answer
you
is
don't.
because God is God. It's like whenever your kids are little and you're getting
You
on to
know.
them, you're like, your kids are like, well, why should I do that? And you're like, because I said so. Like, well, that's stupid.
Right.
Well,
Right.
but it's not. You know what I mean? Like, God is God. And so sometimes, in the end, I think we're going to know the reason, and there'll be light bulbs and all that other stuff.
Right.
But us humans, we're not as smart as we think we are.
I think that God left out that part of the story. I think the purpose of Job is to show a man who did not turn on him.
Yeah.
His friends tried to get him to turn on God.
Yeah.
His friends tried to get him to change his thinking.
Yeah.
But he stood fast on that rock.
Yeah.
And I think that's the point of Job.
Yeah. Well, and at the very, very end of Job, you know what he did? He blessed him times two.
Yes.
Like at the beginning, Job was the world's richest guy at the time.
Yeah.
Which population wasn't huge, obviously, right? But
Right.
he had everything that he needed. A beautiful family, abundance, like everything was awesome. And then Satan went to him and he told God, he's like, no wonder he worships you. He has everything. He's like,
Right.
all right, watch this.
Right.
And then, yes, Job was miserable. We don't know what the time frame really was in between all of this crazy stuff
Yep.
happening to him.
Yeah.
That he just asked and asked. And I love Job. It's one of my favorite books in the Bible because those last 3 or 4 chapters is God just flexing so hard.
Yep.
It's beautiful to read too.
Yeah.
And he's like, here's why I did what I did. And he just listed off a trillion things at the end. Job was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. You're right.
Yeah.
We're cool.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, and then he blessed him times 2.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, he stood fast. That was that steadfastness.
Yeah.
Job was a champion.
Yes.
Job was a champion.
He was a champion.
Job was not a star. He was a champion, right?
He was a champion.
Solomon was a star. He ended
Yeah.
up not so well in the end.
Yeah.
Because God told him not to marry all of these women from other countries because they were going to influence him religiously.
Yeah.
And they did. All of his wives like worshiping all these other things. You surround yourself with girls like that, and you're going to start worshiping who they worship.
Yeah.
He did not remain steadfast during that,
Yeah.
even though God blessed him with wisdom. And so that's why I would say Solomon was a star. In the end, I think he was a champion, but Solomon was a star, Job, champion.
Yeah.
Makes sense? And so all over the Psalms as well, David was a man after God's own heart. David screwed up, obviously. That chapter in the Bible said, while all the other men were out at war during that time of year, all the other kings were out at war. He wasn't. He stayed back.
Yeah.
And he was bored. And when he got bored, he went up to his roof. He's like, oh, what am I going to do today? I don't know. Am I going to play some Xbox? Am I going to whatever? And he looked down and he was like, hey.
Yeah.
And Solomon's mom, by the way, is Bathsheba,
Yeah.
which can tell you how sometimes I think you can pay for your sins through generations.
Yeah.
But yeah, he got bored. He was alone. He screwed up big time.
Right.
But he was also known as a man after God's own heart. He was
Yeah.
honored by God.
Yeah.
And that's because David was a champion.
Right.
And you can see it throughout the Psalms.
Here's the thing about the Bible is there's biblical character after biblical character after biblical character
Yeah.
who has fallen short.
Yeah.
It's all there is no
Like, there's falling short and there's
that's
falling
all
short.
it is.
Yeah.
It's people who have fallen short in their story of when they come back to God. All the disciples.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. Yeah. they
You
all
look
messed
at
up.
you might think that they were all saints. They were not.
Yeah.
But God called them out and
Yeah.
they were, because he marked them since birth, since before they were even born, he had
Yeah.
marked them.
Yeah.
And he knew before that where they would fall short. He knew their pathways, but he also knew that they were going to be called to be his disciples.
Yeah.
And those are just small examples, but it's all throughout the Bible. So if you think that you're too far gone to relate to the Bible, that is absolutely not the case. You will find that if God can use those people in the Bible, he can use you.
Yeah, absolutely. And he wants to. And something that I love about it, I think the reason these people were so screwed up, and God has a habit of doing this all the time, to where whenever the victory does come, it's so ridiculous that the only thing that makes sense is that God did it.
Yes.
If you look at what I went through and like my past and what you had to endure going through that, and people look and they're like, oh my gosh, like what happened? And you're like, God. Nothing else makes sense.
Nothing else makes sense.
Because I tried absolutely everything. You know that I did. I tried all sorts of stuff. And it's just, Jesus is the answer, man. Like, I don't know how else to put it. And that's why I think that I'm still on this earth. And the only reason is like, I need to tell my story from the mountaintops. Anybody that'll listen.
Yeah.
And even if they won't listen, I'm still going to tell it.
Yeah.
And the reason is because the only thing that makes sense that did this was God. And he did it in people's lives. And Noah, Moses, Job, David, Samson, Solomon. I mean, there's hundreds upon hundreds. Peter was a mess. He was a foul-mouthed dude, cut off the guy's ear.
Almost every biblical character.
All of them.
And Job might be the only one that
was fairly blameless. Yeah. And we don't know his entire life.
We don't.
You know, we only know what happened. So does the end of Job say that it talks about him dying.
Yeah.
It talks about the end of his life. And so, I mean, Job may be one.
Jesus, of course, and Mary. I think Mary, mother of Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? And it's not up to us to look at ones and be like, she's better than him or he's better than her.
No.
Yes, but
all I'm saying is,
based on the
I'm
stories,
just saying that there's very few that I can maybe count on one hand that we don't know that fell short.
Right,
I mean, that didn't fall short.
You look on the surface level and you're like, well, they weren't that screwed up.
Most of the biblical characters, God talks about where they fell short.
Yeah.
And how
they fall short big time.
Yes.
Yeah, indeed.
So God makes it a point to let us see that even when you fall short, he still has a purpose and a plan for you.
Yeah, and that was the whole point.
That's the whole, it's repeated throughout the Bible with almost every character.
And that's what Satan was doing with Job.
Yeah.
He was saying, like, no wonder he worships you. He has everything. He's like, all right, let me take it away. And he took it away to a certain extent. I mean, he did crazy how much he took away from him.
Right.
So God could prove to Satan that, hey, this man loves me.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with how much is in his chase account.
Right.
And so, he just does it all the time.
Yeah.
And that is what makes champions. And like I said, all over the Psalms. And so I've only got one more thing to say, one more quote on this. And here's what I'm going to say. There's a difference between a star and a champion, and champions do whatever it takes to win. Mm-hmm. And that's where I got to the point where whenever I was so messed up, I was just finally like, God, I will do whatever in the world you need me to, no matter how hard that it is. I'm going to bury myself in this. That's when I started walking the 5 or 6 miles every day, talking to God like he was right next to me, getting involved in every Bible study I could find, every small group I could find, every Celebrate Recovery.
Yeah.
Do you remember I did 95 AA meetings in 90 days? Like I just went and went and went. And I did nothing but eat, sleep, and breathe what God wanted me to do. And I had to. And I feel like that's the difference between champions and stars.
Yeah.
I don't think it takes that much to be a star these days at all. Especially if if you're a super attractive person, you got a lot of friends. Like
I mean, social media.
It's easy to shine for no reason.
Right.
Super easy to shine.
Look at some of these social media influencers.
Don't get me started. But I know. But so my point is, being a champion in the kingdom of God is obeying him every single day and doing the hard things even when they feel boring.
Right.
Because sometimes some of this stuff feels boring. It just does. And I'm a human saying that. It's God, you can hear what I'm saying. Like sometimes it just seems boring. It's like going to the gym. That's what sets people apart is like there's days that we go where we just don't feel like it.
Oh, yeah.
But every time that you do it, you walk away and you're like, thank God I did that. Yeah. Like you feel good.
Today was a tough day because we were on our way there. We had to turn around and come back for something.
Super Bowl's today. Like I want to eat some food and I want to do some stuff. Right, exactly.
Yep.
And I've just got tons of stuff to do today. Whether it's work with the church, I've got to prepare my week. I've got a big week this week, a huge week this week. I've got some stuff coming up.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, you got to do the hard things because the hard things, and you can testify to this. I think almost every human can. When you do those hard things and you look back at them, even the same day, you're like, that was not bad.
Oh, yes.
And you're rewarded so greatly for doing it.
Right.
And so when you can break your own mind down to where you do what God wants you to do, and you do that over and over and over and over again,
Yeah.
you are a champion.
And you have to. I mean, you have to do what God's calling you to do in order to reach your purpose.
Yeah.
It's like how Pastor Andy said it today. It might take 20 years for God to shape and mold you into what your purpose is going to be.
Yeah.
And you have to be willing to put in the work.
Took me 45
to
years.
do that. Yes.
Yes.
And he is still shaping and molding me for a part of my purpose.
If you're alive, he's still shaping and molding
because
you,
my purpose, I think that my purpose is going to be greater than even what I know it is right now. And that's not to give me any glory or anything.
No, it always is.
I
Yeah,
just think that
biblical.
there's stuff that I don't know yet.
That's biblical, honey.
Yes.
Yes.
So, but I want to make sure that people know that I'm not trying to.
Oh, I get it. Yeah. Whatever plans we have, he's got something that'll blow it out of the water.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and that's not going to come to fruition if I don't do my part and put in the work.
Right. Yeah. You're not just going to lay around. Like, this isn't no welfare society where you just lay around and cry and beg people to do everything for you.
That would be like trusting a doctor who hasn't gone to school, right? So if God wants to trust me with people, then I have to know his word and I have to know him. Right?
Yeah, he's not just going to.
If he's going to trust me with his purpose for me, then I have to know the Bible and I have to know him. It's the same thing. You're not going to go to a doctor that hasn't been to school. Right?
Yeah, Andy said it beautifully today. He there's a lot of people like, where's my platform? Where's my platform? Maybe God's telling you, dude, you're not ready.
Right. And not everyone gets a platform.
Not at all.
Yeah. Sometimes
Some people are put on this earth to see one person saved.
Right. And it's not about me.
No, not even a
little bit.
No, not at all.
And I never want to get to the point where I think I need all this glory and all this. That's not me.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to ever be me, ever.
No.
So I always want to give God the glory. Everything.
It's called being humble.
Being
which
humble
is another thing he asks us to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just want to. That's what I want.
Yeah. Do you want to be a champion? Do you want to be a champion?
I want to be a champion for God.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I know you're not going to get a Super Bowl trophy, Krista.
Right. I want to be a champion, but I don't want to. I don't need the recognition of being a champion.
Yeah.
The only person I need recognition from is God.
That is my point. Yeah. I want to be a champion in God's eyes. I don't care if other people think I'm a champion.
I want to make sure that's clear. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want like the fame and the glory. I just want to be a champion for God.
Yes, and when you're a champion in God's eyes, that means he will use you for some crazy things.
Yeah.
Which then you give him the glory for, and then it's more crazy things, and you give him the glory.
Right.
You see?
Like, I often wonder this with like the disciples and all kinds of things. How did they, because they had to have felt like bigwigs. How could you not?
Yeah.
Like, how could you not? If God called you out to follow him.
Yeah.
And how do you separate from feeling like, just staying humble? How do you?
It'd be hard to be humble, especially got Jesus walking beside you.
You are like.
Right. Big Boss applesauce, for sure.
Oh. You have been able to walk for 2 years?
Check out this guy.
Follow me. I got this.
Right. I know a guy.
I know a guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure that happened. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And if you remember James and John, they were arguing about it a little bit, and even their mom. Mm-hmm. And they went up to Jesus and they were like, hey, whenever we get to the kingdom, can you make sure that I'm sitting on your left and he said they wanted a special place in his kingdom because they knew the guy.
Yes.
Right. That's the opposite of being humble.
See that's where like
I think chastise him a
little
bit. Yeah.
That's where I think God's stirring in me right now is he wants to give me all these things.
Right.
But he's waiting to know that I will be humble about it. And
Oh, you're ready for it.
Yes, that I'm ready for it, and that I'll continue to give him the glory because it's about him. It's not about me.
Yeah, and if you want to put it even more perspective, which I've always thought was crazy when you really think about it, think about Jesus's ministry.
Right.
Son of God, completely blameless, completely sinless. God didn't do anything with his ministry per se until he was 30 years old. Right. And it went for 3 years. Jesus wasn't ready.
Right.
Even though, how could he not be ready?
Right. Can you imagine you're here, you're all knowing, and you don't do anything about it for 30 years?
Like, what are you waiting until? Like, I'm 17 now. Like, your 18th birthday. You're like, what am I doing here? Talk about boring. Right. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm sick of hanging out with camels. Like, where's the action at? Come on, let's do something. Yeah. And then,
Mama, did you lie to me?
Yeah. And then finally, of course, He obviously packed 3 years. He lived pretty hard those 3 years.
Yeah.
In a good way. But anyway, and so I always thought about that. I thought there was a correlation. I don't know why this has really been hitting my head for the last 2 or 3 days. I was like, I really want to talk about the difference between stars and champions.
Yeah.
And the same, it counts for the workplace. It counts for your own service at the church. It's just like, who you can depend on. Who that you can call up and they're going to be consistent. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
of
know
course.
that because they're a champion. Like, you get consistency. You know what you're getting with that guy.
Right.
Make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
And so I want us to be champions for God, not champions for men. Because when you're a champion for God, he turns you into a champion for men. Yeah. Because you're that witness, you're that light. There is no darkness. People see you and they're like, I don't know what that guy has, but I want some of it.
Right.
Count me in.
And
right?
Andy gave a good example today because he was talking about John. And he was talking about how John had his own followers.
Yeah.
Right? Because
John the Baptist,
that's what they did. They got their own followers. That's, like we do. Like not that I have a follower, but I'm the vessel to lead somebody to God, right? And that's what he was talking about.
Yeah.
And he had 2 people that he was leading to God and to Jesus, and Jesus passed by, and those 2 people left John, and went to follow Jesus. And John didn't say, "Oh, but they were me. They were for me."
Yeah. Well,
right?
I just lost 2 followers.
No, that's the point.
Unfollowed.
That's the point.
Yeah, I had 2,000 followers yesterday. Now I have 1,998.
Right, because Jesus walked by.
Is Jesus stealing my followers?
Right.
I didn't talk to him. He's taking all my friends. Yeah, John didn't have that attitude.
Right.
He thought, I'm coming to pave the way for that guy.
Exactly.
Take all my followers.
Vessels.
Yeah, take them all.
I want to be a championship vessel. That's it.
Oh, there it is.
Championship vessel.
We can get a T-shirt made.
Yes.
Championship vessel. I like that. That's
I
pretty
am
cool.
a champion vessel.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
we've been going on for quite a while here. And so I hope that you all have an amazing week. And just, it's going to sound corny and cheesy, but be a champion this week.
Yep.
Like, put God first.
A vessel champion.
Yeah. She's totally going to run with this.
Yes, I am.
Just stay consistent. Get in his word. And don't think of it as like a chore. Like, oh, gosh, I got to read 3 chapters of the Bible. Like, go into it with a heart of knowing that he's going to make you better because of this, and that you're one step closer to those solid, rock hard habits that are going to stick in your life.
That's the way to let God write your story and not steal the pen.
Yeah, there you go. Boom. Another trademark of yours. Yes. Yeah. But just stay consistent. Like, come up with some non-negotiables in your own life, like 2 or 3 things you're going to do for God every single day, no matter what.
Yeah.
Stick with those and just watch how he accelerates and how compound interest works. And when I buried myself in all those studies and the worship music and the talking to him all the time, it did not take long at all to feel that closeness to him all of the time, the time. And there's days I don't feel close to him at all. Like there's days I'm praying all day, like, where are you? Like, I don't know what's going on. That feeling, quote unquote, feeling is gone, and you can't just live off feelings either.
Right.
Like there's days, like Job again.
Oh yeah.
Like, there was times he sat around and he was like,
it's in the Bible where he says that.
Where are you?
Like, where are you, God?
What are you doing? Yeah, exactly. But he remained faithful. He complained a little bit. Who wouldn't? I mean, it's insane.
Yes.
And so talk about putting your problems in perspective. Look at his.
Right.
But anyway, we love you guys.
Yep.
And this is just so awesome. We are so looking forward to this year.
Yeah.
We mentioned this is Inferno year. It is time to pour some kerosene on this thing.
Yep.
And God's going to accelerate it. And I think we're going to see some crazy things in our country, in our world. With Jesus specifically, he wants to bless your family. He wants to bless you. And just stay consistent. Be a champion, y'all. Okay?
Be a champion.
Be a champion. We love you. Hope
And
you have a good
time.
week.
It's time. I'm just going to say it's time. It's time. Don't wait too long.
There you go.
Okay?
All right. Love you guys.
We love you. Bye.